Welcome to the Net Profit Podcast with Ryan Kibler, your net profit CFO, helping business owners like you grow their net profit one episode at a time. And now your host, Ryan Kibler.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Net Profit Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Kibler, the Net Profit CFO. Today I've got a very special guest with me. I've got Adam Ouellette. Adam was a practicing lawyer for over 20 years, and today he has shifted his focus and now has a coaching program and really works with lawyers on building a life that they love and not doing the things that they don't want to do. And we're going to get into some of the mindset that you have to have in order to get that done in your life and your practice today. Adam, thank you for taking the time and coming on the show.
Happy to be here. Appreciate you having me.
For sure. I'm glad you've taken the time. I loved our first couple of conversations that we've had, and I was very happy to have you on the show. Adam, I know you've got a lot of big things that you're going to be rolling out here in the near future. I want to give you an opportunity, share a little bit more, about your background, kind of how you got to where you are today, and go ahead and tell us about a few of the things that you got upcoming.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I really enjoy talking to law firm owners about is my path, because my path is very similar to their path, right? Most law firm owners are very good tacticians. What does that mean? It means they're very good at practicing law. I was a good lawyer, wasn't great. Most of the lawyers I've worked with over the past 10 years, because I've been doing this for 10 years, are really great lawyers, but they suck at running a business. And that's the reason, Ryan, why you're around doing the work you're doing, because they don't know how to look at the financial stuff and they don't understand much about business, but they're very good lawyers. And so when I was a new attorney, I got hired by this guy who's about 25 years in practice, and he was a really bad businessman. I mean, really bad businessman. He had a coach, wasn't following through. And I came in and I had a real estate license since I was 19. I had actually been in business since I was 12. I had my own my own lawn business at 12 years old. So I'm wheeling the lawnmower down the street at 12 years old, knocking on people's doors. So I was just naturally inclined to be a business person. And so here I am with this guy, 25 years. Now, he taught me a tremendous amount about how to be a lawyer and practice law. But what he didn't understand, and what I learned quickly, was how to shift your mindset from being a law firm owner and just a lawyer, because that's what most law firm owners think they are. They think they're lawyers first and foremost, but they have to shift into this CEO mindset. It's a total different way of looking at things. It's a total different way of operating how you practice and running the business that you have, because it's a practice, but it's literally a business. And so as I was working with this partner and realizing, holy shit, no wonder he's been in the same office for 25 years and he's never really made it, I saw a lot of the challenges that most law firm owners have. We're going to get to some of these things today, and we're going to talk for about a half an hour, Ryan, that's what you said, about some of the issues that law firm owners have. But as I began practicing law and around the 10-year mark, it's when the real estate market tanked. We were real estate lawyers, and we had done really well. Okay. We had done really well because they loosened the regulations for mortgages, and I'm doing these closings and I'm looking at the people's financials and I'm going, this person should not be buying this house. They're never going to be able to afford it. People are trying to flip and all that stuff. This was back in 03, 01 to 06. And then the shit hit the fan, right?
Yeah.
It hit the fan bad. And so my partner and I, 10 years in, we split. And it was one of the best things to happen to me, even though it was kind of like a divorce. I recognized I had enough experience. I didn't need to practice with him anymore. And I went out and did my own thing. But throughout that last 10, 12, 13 years, I grew so much because it was all on me. Yeah. Everything was on me. And I realized I don't want to run the firm like he and I ran it. I want to run it like I'm a CEO, and CEOs have different ways of thinking than most law firm owners, right?
Yep.
And so I started researching, how could I make more money? How could I scale? And what I realized is that when you go to law school, they don't teach you any of this. They teach you none of this. And most of the time, you're never going to learn this in real life because you're too busy being the tactician. You're too busy trying to put out all the fires that you have as a law firm owner. And part of the biggest challenge that I had as an owner of a law firm was the administrative work.
Yeah.
It never goes away. And then you have all the employee issues.
Yeah.
And you have the clients complaining. And so I was like, I had so many really shitty clients with this other guy. And I started realizing I want to attract better clients. I want
Yeah.
clients that will pay, that are appreciative. So I found this book, Attracting Perfect Customers, it was called. I was probably 4 or 5 years in. And I read that and it gave me a different perspective on a different breed of clients. And so that drove my marketing and it drove everything I did with my firm in terms of who I wanted and where I wanted my firm to go. And so one of the biggest things that most lawyers are challenged in is not having enough clients, right?
Sure.
It's either feast or famine.
Yep.
That's most small businesses, right? Most small businesses either have not enough business and they can't staff enough, or they have too much and they don't have enough staff. So there's a very fine line that we walk in terms of the number of clients that we have and the amount of income we can make. One of the things I heard from a coach that I had years ago, and he was a lawyer transitioning into being a coach. He had been practicing, I don't know, 25, 30 years. He said, always pay yourself first. But when you don't have enough clients, how can you do that when you got to keep the lights on and the doors on and all that? So what I recognize is I wanted to attract more ideal clients.
Yeah.
Because they were going to make my life easier. And so I made lists of what I didn't want because that drove what I wanted. And as I started to attract a better breed of clients and they paid well and it was no big deal. Then I started to look at, I'm working too much.
Yeah.
I was killing it, but I was working 10, 12, 15-hour days. And what had happened was it caused me to have adrenal burnout.
Yeah.
Every lawyer has adrenal burnout. It's hard to get around. And I started to research, well, how can I deal with this burnout and start to have a little bit more work-life balance? I know that's a cliche. It truly is. And it's been out there so much. But part of the challenge that we have, and I said challenge a lot, law firm owners have tons of challenges, but a big challenge we have is we are burnout and we're tired and we can't get enough sleep, it feels like. That made me sick. So I'm having this adrenal burnout and my heart started going into weird rhythms because my adrenals were so screwed that they were pumping too much cortisol and adrenaline out. So I just began to search for techniques and tools and tips so that I could have more life balance, so that I could have more ideal clients. And so I could make an amazing living and not work as much. I think every lawyer wants that. Ryan, you and I talked about you not working as much as you get going and scaling your firm. So one of the things I found was heart math, and heart math really changed my trajectory in terms of the stress and the anxiety and recognizing that I was doing stress to myself by how I was focused on things. And what I eventually got to about the 15-year mark, because I didn't have anybody that could teach me the things that I learned, was how I could take a 10, 12, 15-hour day and a 6-hour week and pull it down into about 4-hour days.
Yeah.
And when I've told people about that and then I teach them how to do it, at first they're going, you're full of shit, man. You can't do that. Because my firm that I had with the guy that was 25 years practicing, you know, he had this belief system. You got to be in the office. You got to work so many hours a day. Well, meanwhile, he was letting me work the 10, 12, 15-hour days, and he was out golfing a lot. And I'm like, look, man, if you had a list of clients that was watering my eyes, that paid and that were great, go golf, but you don't. And that's most law firms. So I wanted to reverse engineer. How could I work less and make more? And I figured out a bunch of different ways to do that. In the end, it comes down to having an amazing team, building an amazing team, but you got to have enough business to build the team. And so I really focused in a lot on marketing and how to attract those ideal clients, because my mission was to help people and do it in a way that had integrity And the vision was to make a great living and do it so that I'd only had to work 4-hour days. So I set this team up little by little, and I was time blocking. There's something called do not disturb. I learned that when I was a young lawyer I think it was Atticus. There was something called Atticus. I think it was like 3 years out of law school. Partner, right? I made partner with this guy in 6 months because I had brought in so much business already. He was like, okay, I don't want to lose this kid, so I'm going to make him a partner. But then, I had a lot of the responsibility. I had these women that were in their 50s and 60s that were part of our team. They needed to get paid. So here I am. I'm 27, 28 years old going, holy shit, I better figure some of this stuff out. But I started implementing do not disturb time, and that radically changed things for me. When I stopped allowing everybody to pull my attention away, and now with cell phones, we had cell phones then, but the texting, there was not a lot of texting going on. That wasn't even a thing when I was a younger lawyer, but people peeking their heads in and bothering you and the email dinging. And so I love the idea that they taught, take an hour if you can, 2 hours a day, close the door. And then the folks that I worked with, they got me this little thing for the door that I would hang on it and said D&D. It was a little etched engraved thing. And then I said, okay, well, I'm gonna start working at home, because then that's really do not disturb. And the law partner at the time, he said, you have to be in the office. No, I don't. I don't need to be in the office.
Yeah.
And then eventually, shortly after that, he started working from home. So, all these belief systems that he had as this old timer as he was then, and he's retired now, but they didn't match up, right? So I really needed to look at my life and how I was living it, because I was sick. I was sick, and I was on heart medicine because my arrhythmias, because of the adrenals. And look, the heart doctors didn't know. They had no idea.
Right.
They'd given me medicine because they thought something was wrong with my heart. No. 15 years later, I went to like a more naturopath MD, and she and I figured it out. It was the adrenals, and it was adrenals all along. You got to take care of yourself first and foremost. You have to take care of yourself, because practicing law is one of the hardest professions on the planet.
Sure.
Now, dentists have a higher suicide rate than lawyers. Dentists are at the top of the list. I'm not sure exactly why. I have coached some dental office managers and stuff like that in the past. And the reason is because they have to see so many patients, and it's like a churn and burn kind of thing. But I don't equate practicing law to something as difficult as being in the military, because we're not getting shot at.
Sure. Hopefully not, anyway.
Well, also, yeah. That's why I never went into criminal law, because I was afraid if I lost a case, the clients would show up, and they'd have their friend come and, kind of put a cap in me, as they used to say. And it's not as, stressful as EMT, because I know plenty of paramedics and firefighters and EMTs or emergency room doctors.
Sure.
Doesn't rise to that level, right?
Sure.
We're not, in most instances, we're not dealing with people's lives or, a fire, destroying people's property and all that. But it is one of the most difficult professions, because you have to do so much work to make a living. And most lawyers, as I said before, don't understand how to run a business. And so I was looking for any kind of tip, tool, or technique I could get where I could learn how to have that balance, how to feel better, how not to get stressed out and anxious over everything. And I just started implementing these principles, right? But I had built a killer team, and I was able to say, this person is best to do this. Okay, I'm going to push off the non-essential stuff to them for this. And I just kept building the team with these people that were amazing. And I sat back and did, as we talked about right before you hit record, the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. I was focused on the 20% that I could do to make me the CEO instead of law firm owner. And I've got all these things, and I can't delegate anything, because if I do, I lose control. And it's the wrong attitude to have. It's absolutely the wrong attitude to have. Questions? I am just spouting off all kinds of stuff here.
You've been rolling, man. I've been taking some notes. I want to go back. I mean, you've listed a lot of things here, right? I think one of the first things is really diving in and looking at, getting a group of ideal clients. I think, a lot of law firm owners don't even necessarily really sit down and go through that process. But I think that can make major, major differences in your law firm
Huge.
night and day, right?
Dude.
But that's part of the CEO mindset of really looking at, who's our ideal, right? And it really does change the business, right? And I mean, I can let you talk about that for another minute too, but
Yeah. So when I sat down and read that book, I realized it is about what you're focused on. And they
yep,
went through some exercises. And then I eventually created a course called the Ideal Client Attraction Formula, which outlines how to do this in every step. When you look at the clients you have now
yep,
and you rank them A, B, C, D, and F, like you're in
yeah,
school, right?
yeah,
I fired the C minuses and below. And
yep,
that would freak a lot of lawyers, law firm owners out because to think about firing a client, well, where the hell am I going to find somebody to replace that income? It's all about your mindset and thinking more of like a business owner and letting go of a lot of belief systems that are stuck in there's only a certain number of clients and I can't attract them. And one of the major shifts that came for me was in '07 when I split off from that partner of 10 years. I
yep,
had nothing. There was no real estate business happening that I thought, right?
yeah,
No real estate business happening at all. And in the emails that I send out when you sign up for my law firm owner information, one of the emails is that '07 Phoenix rising from the ashes moment. And at that moment, I realized I wanted more ideal clients and I needed to rebuild everything from the ground up. And so I made a list of, and this was before that, but that's where my focus was because I didn't have a partner, quote unquote, that didn't have that same mindset as I did. So I was open to do whatever I wanted to do. So I started making that list. What is it that I don't like? The slow
yeah,
pay, the asshole clients, because we all have had them where they want it done yesterday. They don't want to pay what you want, to be paid, and they don't appreciate you. So I had
yep,
this long list of stuff. And then I started to realize through that book and then lots of other books and my own coach at the time, there's a lot more to it than just making a list. It's where can I find these people? Where are they hanging out? What's the avatar of that ideal client prospect? You want to they need to be a prospect first, right?
yep,
And so recently I just got done creating a custom chat GPT that walks people through. Once you buy that course and it walks people through the questions that you have to ask yourself and all of the background information, and it will pump out this cheat sheet. Who's your ideal client? Where are they? How do you get to them? And one of the other things I do in that course is how to start leveraging your knowledge because that was massive for me as a real estate lawyer. Mostly I did some litigation and business law and stuff like that. I quit the litigation after 10 years because it was hell. I mean, if you're a litigator, God bless you, because man, I just didn't have that kind of mindset. I wasn't so much transactional. I loved the business aspects, right? That for
sure,
me, the business was it. I loved the business stuff. I didn't particularly like the work.
yeah,
But so when I started focusing in on who are they and recognizing that I can find them and get in front of them, that opened up so many things for me where I realized a lot of our clients were coming from real estate agents. So I started doing a ton more training for real estate agents. And I created campaigns back in '05, '06 in, wasn't MailChimp, that wasn't even around. It was Constant Contact then,
yep,
where I was doing video training for realtors. I was helping them with their business because I had a background in real estate. My mother was a real estate broker since I was 10 years old. I got a real estate license at 19, helped her run her business. During the summers, I'd come home, I'd sell real estate, I'd make a bunch of beer money for when I'd go back to school. And so when I was doing the stuff to attract the ideal real estate agents that would send me business, it was so easy to then go out and network. I was out
yep,
networking 3, 4, 5 days a week where I would meet a realtor. And before it would take me 6 months to a year to meet them and touch base and shake hands and get to know them. Say, when are you going to give us a try here? Give us a try. It then went from that to doing webinars and training in their offices, recording it, doing a campaign where I'm dripping out emails of things that are going to help them with their business. And it went from 6 months to a year to never meeting some of them. And they were calling me on the phone, leaving me messages going, "Oh my God, man, you've helped me so much. How can I send you business? This was like such a radical shift that increased the bottom line dramatically.
Yep.
So lawyers don't know how to do that. They don't know how to set that stuff up. And that's a lot of what I talk about in that ideal client attraction formula course is how to do that, how to share your knowledge with whoever you want to attract. And then once
How to
they
find the
hit your
right partners.
website, what's that?
And how to find the right partners, right? For you, it was
That's right.
real estate agents.
That's right. Referral partners. This is it. So I was supporting them, but if you don't have referral partners that send that kind of business, every lawyer has a referral partner. Like CPAs can be great referral sources and all that. If it's just SEO and stuff like that, how can you help them understand what they're going through better? And then the onboarding process is so important. Systematizing and automating. If you're not doing that as a law firm owner, you're wasting a lot of your staff's time and your time. I have a friend who she was a client and she ended up leaving the law. I have a company that helps lawyers leave the law, and these are really unhappy lawyers. Holy shit. That runs on its own, right? But
yeah.
I connected with her years ago, and she now works for Smokeball,
Okay.
CRM for lawyers, right?
Yep.
And she deals with medium-sized law firms.
Yep.
And I said, what's your biggest challenge with medium-sized law firms? She goes, they're too busy. They don't have time to implement the stuff that this CRM will do. And it's like a catch-22.
Yep.
They're so busy because they're doing bullshit admin work that someone else should be doing to implement a software that's going to save them, their staff, and everybody that works with them. I don't care who they are, other attorneys, so much time. And so if one thing you take away from this live training, or it's not live training, from this podcast, law firm owners, is embrace technology. AI, embrace it. Utilize it as best you can within, the rules of your licensure, and make sure if there's case law that you cite, it's real. Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, you think that's be common knowledge, but it's not. But embrace the CRMs and embrace how to utilize technology to systematize and automate. And this is what I teach in my group coaching, step by step, right? We start out with, what do you want? What are your goals? And we walk people through month by month how to get to a point where you could work 4-hour days. Killer.
Yeah. And that's really a CEO mindset again, right? Is really, how do you get the most important work that you really need to do as the owner, that 20%, how do you really, cut it down and get it down to 4-hour days? Right.
Yeah. And what that allowed me to do was play some more golf with prospective clients, bankers, because bankers were really good for me too. So I would take them out and play golf. But it also allowed me time to write a book for lawyers called Raising the Bar. And I did that. And then it allowed me to be able to build this business that I've been doing for 10 years, so that when we decided to move from Florida to North Carolina, it was a simple move, because a couple of years later, well, my wife continued running it for a while, but a couple of years later, we sold it all. And she went to work in-house for a solar firm, which she loves. And I do this. But one of my questions for everybody out there listening to this is, what if you burn the candle at both ends so badly that you wake up and you can't practice? Because that did happen to me. And we can further this discussion on another interview, because I think it's apropos and it's very important to understand adrenal burnout. And I mean, look, I've coached people that I think about 5 people, I added it up over the past 10 years. These are law firm owners that leukemia, cancers, nervous breakdowns, because they push, and they don't know what I've taught today, and they haven't implemented any of it because they really don't know that it's there. Or even if they know it's there, they haven't done anything with it. You hit a wall.
Yep.
And it's not fun, because I was there. I couldn't work off and on for years. And it was such a struggle to make a living some of those years, where I would wake up and then, like I said, the doctors they're throwing heart medicine at me. And I'm like, wait a minute, my heart, I can go out and work out an hour, and I did every day. And nobody could understand what was happening. But I've said this many times in lots of interviews. Every lawyer needs a therapist. I don't care if you're a law firm owner or not. A therapist, And every lawyer that makes a decent living should have some sort of consultant or coach to help them. And they need somebody like you too, because without knowing the business metrics, how can you make good decisions? Because most lawyers are looking at billables and billable hours, and there's a lot more to it, as you know. So,
Yeah, for sure. I think you've been diving into so many things that
sorry.
tie to a CEO mindset. I love all of it. I mean, you know, it all ties together and it all comes down to, shifting your mindset to how can I market and have ideal clients, build an amazing team to serve those clients so that then, and, building that team, finding the people that love to work with clients
Right.
and love to do the lawyer work, right? Obviously, that wasn't you necessarily in your career. You're much more on the I want to go market side, right? And then after you've done those two things and you've really narrowed down the process, you've found ideal clients and you've got an amazing team working with those clients, then it's how do I work less and make more,
That's
right?
right. And how do I focus in on the things that I really love doing? Because you and I talked about this in our previous calls, where when you're doing work you absolutely love,
Yeah.
it's not a job. It's just so fun. You wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I can't wait to do this. So
Yep.
when I have these interviews or where I do live trainings, I wake up and I go, oh my God, I love to spread the word about what I've learned, because I banged my head against the wall for so many years
Yeah.
to be able to get to a point where I was low. I was like, Phoenix rising from the ashes low, where I said, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And when you go through hard times, it's like, carbon turning into a diamond. It forces you in a lot of instances to look at things that you didn't want to look at for a long time. The CEO mindset, it comes down to this, right? Are you building wealth? Are you just busting balls and working hard? There
Yeah.
is a massive difference. Most law firm owners, they are working hard, but they're not building wealth. A lot of them are just kind of getting by. I'll end unless you have more questions on this one story. There was a guy that was friends with my law partner back in the day, and he seemed to be really successful. I think he made an okay living. Kids came to work for him. They were both lawyers, both went to University of Miami Law School. He was an adjunct professor, and I remember seeing him, and I was around 9 years in, and my law partner had a lot of respect for him because he did better job at business, running a business. And I saw him at a networking event, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?" He goes, "It's just a grind still." I'm like, "Yeah, well, at a certain point, you're going to turn it over to your kids." "Yeah, but I may not have enough money to retire." And I'm like, "Holy crap, man!" It shocked me. It really did. But he wasn't a very good business person either. And he didn't take some of the steps we talked about today to ensure that he was building wealth, because the CEO mindset is really about freedom. It's about living the kind of life you want to live and having long-term success and not killing yourself. That's the end result, right? Of having this different mindset. And even if you can't cut it down to 4 hours a day, I did a lot of work building up to that. The fact is, if you spend some time every week with some of the mindset shifts that we've talked about today, some of the things I teach, I have a 1 hour webinar. I go through the 7 secrets to working 7 hour days, right? You'll send that link out to whoever. If you spend time and you systematize and automate and leverage a CRM and look at your team and grow the team responsibly, because there's a great book called Growing Great Team Members, where the ones you haven't done a good enough job training or working with them to figure out what they're really good at and what they enjoy doing. We don't ask employees that. I call them team members. We don't ask them, what do you really enjoy doing? And then getting people to fill in the slots where everything's covered, you know? And when things are covered, you can go play, you can have fun, and you can work on high level stuff. But there's the flip side. And I said it before. What happens if you wake up and you can't go to work? Can the firm run without you for a day or a week? Most law firm owners are golden handcuffed to their firm to where they can't even take real vacations. I know, I was there. I did that many years. I'm going on these cruises living in South Florida, and my wife and I are law partners at the time. because we had left that guy because we had no business, and things got better exponentially after that. But we're checking our email 10 times a day. And I'm like, this is not a life. I'm not living life. How can I not go on a vacation? So I had so much stress back then that it would take me 5-6 days to unwind and get to the point where I'm like, oh, and then vacation's over.
Yeah.
There's so much pain as a law firm owner. There really is. And I went through all. That's why I sought out the solutions that I could. Never had kids, had dogs and cats, and they're sometimes as much work as kids. But my free time, a lot of time, was spent reading books, thousands of books and webinars and going to workshops and all that so that I could figure this out. So now my passion really, truly is taking all these things I learned and sharing with people that, like that you work with and that are people that follow you. So, yeah.
For sure. I mean, just sharing the opportunity that really exists. And you've proved it, you've lived it. Just, it doesn't have to be a grind forever.
Right.
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 Adam, I've loved everything you've shared. I mean, we're definitely, I think we talked about it before, but definitely going to have you back and
definitely
diving into some more of these things, and I love the things that you've got coming up, the group coaching, and I know you're rolling out a few courses and webinars and things like that, always, to help lawyers and share, about your experiences and helping them really transform their lives and shift into that CEO mindset. Again, I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing and being a part of the show.
Happy to be here, Ryan. Thanks for the invite. And one thing I'll leave the audience with is do your best to set your firm up so that you can have a life too, because you deserve it. All the education and all the hard knocks you've gone through, you deserve to have the kind of life that you want, and you can have it. You just have to do some inner work. The inner work, when you change, your law firm changes. This is it. And so any of the work that I do with people, it's not really work. It really truly is transformational from the inside out. There's a whole course I have done for the business world, and I call it Leading from the Inside Out. When you shift and you change your belief systems and your mindset from I'm just a lawyer, law firm owner to a CEO, everything can change.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So appreciate the time. Thank you. I'm sure you'll send out my info, and if they want more information, it's there for them. A lot of it for free. So
for sure. Yes, we will get all of the links to connect with you. And Adam, I highly recommend that my audience does. I think you're a great resource, wealth of knowledge, and really helping law firm owners, again, really transform their lives. We will get all that stuff down in the show notes. And like I said, I highly recommend they connect, and I hope that they do. And we will have you on again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, until next time, everybody, go accelerate your profits. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Net Profit Podcast with Ryan Kimler. Make sure to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to check the show notes for our guest contact information and to connect with Ryan on his website, netprofitcfo.com.